Asmat Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Parama Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Sarva Gurubhyo Namaha. So continuing on with beginner Sanskrit, we're using the text again is learn Sanskrit. So we finished lesson 7 last time, and lesson 7 taught us about, we finished all of the different case endings for nouns, for A ending masculine nouns, Akaranta Pumlinga nouns, and now we're going to lesson 8. So what are we going to learn in lesson 8? Lesson 8 has got Sandhi rules for combining vowel. Right, so up until now, he's just given us a little bit of an introduction to Sandhi. Sandhi means joining words. There's actually 2 types of Sandhi. There's internal and external Sandhi. So there can be the rules of putting things together inside a word, meaning the root of a word, or the stem of a word and the ending of a word. That's called internal Sandhi. External Sandhi is between words. So much more important external Sandhi. And so we have to learn about how to combine words here. So today we're going to talk about when a word ends in a vowel and the next word begins with a vowel, how to coalesce those vowels together, how to put those vowels together. Then we're going to also, now that we've learned Akaranta Pumlinga, now we've learned A-ending masculine nouns, we're going to now learn, right, neuter nouns ending in short A, right? So we know masculine nouns ending in short A. Now we're going to learn neuter nouns. So everything that we learned so far, we learned masculine nouns and all the case endings and all the number endings that we learned, right? We're now going to learn in this lesson for neuter nouns. And they're very similar, so we shouldn't have too much problem with them. Okay, so the word Sandhi means combination or junction point. The rules of Sandhi ensure that sounds will combine in a pleasing euphonic way. The idea is to avoid what we call hiatus. Hiatus means having to break the sound when we're speaking. When we speak, we make different sounds from different parts of our mouth and throat and nasal passages. And in order to speak quickly, when we speak quickly, the tongue has to go from different places, touch different parts of the mouth, and the different sounds have to come out. And so we know that those sounds are made in different parts of the mouth. And in order to go from one to another, sometimes there's a slight, an effect where we have to abruptly stop and take a breath, or abruptly stop and say something completely different. But when our voice is flowing, that tends to even out, it tends to smooth out. So Sandhi helps us to smooth out our speech like that. When somebody will be saying something word by word in Sanskrit, they'll break the Sandhis. When they're saying a sentence, they'll put it together with the Sandhis. They'll put it together. Everything will be put together. It will flow very nicely. So these are rules in order to avoid what we call hiatus. Hiatus means a break. Hiatus means a break. So we want to avoid a break. We want everything to flow nicely. So that's Sandhi. So Panini, in his sutras, Panini, of course, is a great grammarian of Sanskrit, and he has written 8 chapters of sutras called the Astadhyayi. Asta means 8, Adhyayi means chapters. So in his first chapter, fourth section, 109th sutra, he also refers to this junction points or sandhis, right? And as samhita. Samhita means togetherness. So normally people say sandhi. Sometimes people say samhita. Samhita means togetherness. Right. So now we also know another thing. We've heard of sandhya. So the word sandhi means together. So we know that there are these 3 sandhyas. There's 3 parts of the day, or actually 4 parts really. Right. Between the night and the day, we have dawn. Right, where the night meets the day. So where the night meets the day, that's considered a Sandhi or a Sandhya, right? Where the forenoon meets the afternoon, that's a Sandhi, that's a Sandhya, right? And in the evening, when the sun is going down at dusk, where the day meets the night, that's also a Sandhya. There's also one more Sandhya, right? Where before midnight and after midnight meet, after the middle of the night, not really midnight, but the middle of the night. So if the night starts at 6:30 and ends at 5:30 in the morning, right, then it would be halfway in between that. So not necessarily always at midnight. But anyway, so these are called Sandhis and or Sandhyas. And so we're used to chanting the Gayatri mantra and doing certain things at those times. Okay, so that's Sandhya, Sandhi. That's what Sandhi means. Okay, so now there's two types of Sandhi, which I was just explaining. One is external Sandhi, or changes at the junction between words, between the end of one word and the beginning of another word. And then internal Sandhis, which is changes within the word, within a word, right? So Panini has a famous sutra, Suptingantam Padam. So a padam, the word padam means a word in Sanskrit, padam. So Suptingantam Padam. So sup and ting are the shorthand words, that made up words that Panini, that's his notation, Panini's notation for noun endings and verb endings. So noun endings are sup, and sup stands for sup. Okay, so that's short, sup. And ting is tiptasanti mipwasma, tiptasanti mipwasma, whatever it is, and the nine endings for verbs that we just learned. Okay, so anyway, so suptingantam, those things which end with those endings are words, are padams. Yeah, that's what Panini basically says. Okay, so within the word, we know that there's a root, there's maybe a stem, which is a root which may be changed in some way, and then we have an ending which we put on it. Because Sanskrit is a highly inflected language, which we have learned, there are many of these endings that go on to make the words, either nouns or verbs, mean something different, to alter the meaning of the words. Okay, so let's continue on. The Sandhi rules involve sound changes so that the flow of language is smooth. As mentioned in lesson 2, an apple is smoother than saying a apple, right? So if I say a apple, it sort of doesn't flow. There's a apple. I have to make a break there. If I say an apple, it flows very easily off the tongue, right? By adding that extra N there. So this is the type of Sandhi that we use in English. Another thing here is the house, right? The house. But if we say the house in English, nobody says the house unless if they're a native English speaker, they'll say the house, the house, the house. Right, is pronounced differently from the other house. We don't say the other house. We say that. Anyway, some people may, I don't know how they pronounce it in different parts of the English-speaking world, but he's making this example. The first example is much better. Apple, a apple or an apple, right? A elephant, an elephant, right? So the house is pronounced differently than the other house. These are examples of external Sandhi. The Sandhi rules in Sanskrit exist because the Sanskrit tradition has been primarily an oral tradition. That's because Sanskrit is such an ancient language that it even predates writing. It predates written language. So it was previously just a spoken language. And because its grammatical insights are so sophisticated, the word Samskrita itself means elaborate or refined. So Samskrita, in Sanskrit, the word Samskrita, which is the word for Sanskrit, Samskrita means refined or elaborate, right? Okay. Or sophisticated. He uses the word sophisticated here. The term Sandhi has been adopted by modern linguists to describe sound modifications between words in any language. So after the Western Indologists came to India, Germans and the British in particular, and they studied the languages in India, and they understood that Sanskrit was the root language of all these other languages in India. When they began to study Sanskrit, they realized, oh, there's this concept of Sandhi in Sanskrit. We have that in our languages too. And so it was before studying Sanskrit, nobody knew about how to understand this grammatical terminology. So actually, people who study any language now, linguists, they talk about Sandhi, which is a concept coming from their study of Sanskrit. So because Panini thought about it so deeply about how the structure of language was there, many of his concepts they carry over into other languages. So don't allow the Sandhi rules to overwhelm you. I cannot stress this more, what he says. Don't allow these Sandhi rules to overwhelm you. These are little nitpicky rules. Okay, and we all know that I have prepared several forms of Vishnu Sahasranama, right, which you can also find on my YouTube channel, right, with different alternate Sandhis for people who want to be more exacting in their pronunciation or whatever it is, right? And there are also alternate Sandhi rules that are not compulsory. There are compulsory ones and non-compulsory ones. Anyway, these are little rules, and don't let them overwhelm you. There are many rules to learn, but with practice, you will gradually assimilate them. So there are rules, there are exceptions, there are all these sort of things. But what we're going to start off with, we're going to learn some very basic rules, right? Which are going to be very easy. So we shouldn't be afraid of them, right? And so when people speak Sanskrit a lot of the time, when they're speaking, they don't use these rules because when you're speaking, it's not like you're composing a verse or something like that. So you're not thinking in terms of adding all the sandhis. So many times people speak Sanskrit. When they speak it, they leave out the sandhis because they're trying to think of the next word to say. And therefore, before they come up with the next word to say, they don't know what letter it's going to start with. So they don't know how to end the previous word. So they'll just say it without sandhi. So when we say Sanskrit sentences, the Veda also can be chanted in this way. When the Veda is chanted in a continuous way, it is called samhita. Did we notice up here that he used the word samhita? Samhita. That's what Panini says. So when the Veda is chanted completely straightforward like that, it is called samhita pata. Samhita pata, or the recitation. Pata means a lesson, but it means recitation because the original Gurukula lessons was the guru would sit and he would say something, and the students would memorize it by repeating it after him out loud. So pata means a lesson, but strictly speaking, it means recitation. So samhita pata means continuous recitation, togetherness recitation, right? So when we chant either Vedic or classical Sanskrit, when we chant it straight through, when we chant it straight through, like when we're chanting Vishnu Sahasranama or something, we chant it straight through, we chant the verse straight through, right? It includes these sandhi rules. When we break it up, and it's called samhita pat, when we break up word by word, when we have word for word. Sometimes if you look in some of these publications, you'll find the original Sanskrit transliteration, then you'll see word for word explanations. The word for word explanations have the sandhi broken, have all the words broken up, and the sandhi is broken. The sandhi is broken and changed, and so the word changes. So the ending of the word will not be as it is with the next word attached, right? So that is called padapat. Pada means word, right? Remember I said suptingantam, padam. So pada means a word. So samhita means a togetherness, there might be some other words for sentences and verses. When we say shloka means a verse, right? Okay, so I hope that's clear. So we have two ways of reciting, and so sometimes when people are learning Sanskrit verses and they are not very confident, they'll say it word by word, right? They'll say Vishvam, Vishnur, Vishnam, Vishnuhu, Vasatkaro, in the first part of Vishnu Sahasranam. But actually it's Vishnur. That's a Sandhi. So Vishvam, Vishnur, Vasatkaro. So that people, when they break it up. So when you're beginning to learn something like that, sometimes when the teacher chants Sanskrit, he knows the Sanskrit and he knows it well. Sometimes when he chants it, if he's having you listen to it and repeat it, he may break the Sandhi when he tells you something. But then he has to explain to you how to chant it properly when you chant it fully through, right? If he's just getting you to chant. Anyway, this is all getting too complicated, but here's the point. The point is that now we know about two ways of recitation. We know Samitapat and we know Padapat. So saying the whole thing straight through, or saying with just breaks wherever there's punctuation. The punctuation in Sanskrit is simply a danda or a double danda, which means a pause. It's just like a comma and a full stop, comma and a period, right? So those are the times that we take breath, right, in between speaking. So unless it's that, Samitapat means it should be said straight through. But Padapat means we take a break at the end of each word. So therefore we have to break the sandhis. So in fact, you could put a danda in between each of the words. If you were going to write out a verse in Padapat, you have to put a danda in between each thing. Anyway, okay, so now, so these are examples of external sandhi. What the two examples he gave in English were an apple and the house, or the other house, right? So an apple as opposed to a apple, or the house as opposed to the other house. Okay, these are examples of external sandhi. So the sandhi rules, and remember, we're going to use mainly in this course, we're going to use English terminology, but we're explaining the Sanskrit terminology for you so that when you meet somebody who has learned all the Sanskrit terminology and they say something using the jargon, the technical Sanskrit word for sandhi, if somebody says to you samhita, he means sandhi, samitapat, right? If you meet somebody and they say, okay, chant this samitapat, chant this padapat. If he says, chant this padapat, here's a verse, chant this padapat, he's asking you to break up all the words in the sentence or in the verse and break the sandhis and chant it like that. So Vishvam, Vishnuhu, Vasatkaraha, right? Instead of Vishvam, Vishnor, Vasatkaro, right? So that will be the first line of the first verse of Vishnu Sahasranam. So anyway, the sandhi rules of Sanskrit exist because the Sanskrit tradition has primarily been an oral tradition, and because the grammatical insights were so sophisticated, the term sandhi has been adopted by modern linguists to describe the sound modifications between words in any language. So sandhi applies to all languages to a greater or lesser extent. In Sanskrit, there's more rules than there are in most other languages. And when we learn English, we don't learn the rules. Native English-speaking people, when you learn your native language like that, you don't learn usually you don't learn those rules. They just naturally, you understand them by growing up in a certain place, right? By assimilation. You assimilate them naturally when you learn a language in a natural way. There's two ways of learning a language, natural and artificial. What we're doing here is artificial. We're learning all the rules and we're learning it artificially. But if we would just be in a Sanskrit speaking family, if we grew up in a Sanskrit speaking family, we would just hear Sanskrit and we would just naturally understand the rules. So don't allow sandhi rules to overwhelm you. There are many rules to learn, but with practice, you'll gradually assimilate them. We will begin our study of the external rules using charts, grids, right? So we'll have on one side of the grid, we'll have all the letters that a word can end in. On the other side of the grid, we'll have all the letters that the next word can begin with, and then in the middle, we can find the answer to how the letters change. So this will become clear as we go along. We will begin the study of externals using charts, and then after we've used the rules for some time, we'll memorize them. Right? Well, that will just come naturally. That will just come naturally and normally. There will be 3 charts because external Sandhi can be divided into 3 groups. So we're going to talk about Sandhi for the next 3 lessons. Today we are going to talk about vowel Sandhi. That is, when one word ends, external vowel Sandhi. When one word ends in a vowel, and the next word begins with a vowel, right? How those vowels come together and if there's any changes, right? That is called in Sanskrit swara sandhi. So swara means vowel. So that's in lesson 8. The next lesson 9, we'll deal with visarga sandhi. Visarga is the H with a dot under it in transliteration, right? We know how to form it we know how to form all these things in Devanagari. But anyway, visarga is a special letter. Right, we've seen that it's very useful because it comes at the end of some noun endings and some verb endings. Visarga. Okay, so but the changes that happen when the first word ends in a visarga and the second word begins with some other letter, right? And of course, visarga is not a letter that is at the beginning of a word. But we're talking here about final visarga sandhi. So that's called visarga sandhi. That's the second lesson that we'll do. The third lesson that we'll do is consonant sandhi. So what happens when a noun or a verb or even an indeclinable ends in a consonant? If it ends in a consonant and the next one begins with a consonant, how do those consonants go together? Right? How do we pronounce that? What sandhi rules are involved there? So there's the 3 types of sandhis. 3 types of sandhis once again. What are the 3 types of sandhi? Vowel sandhi, final visarga sandhi, right, and consonant sandhi. These are the 3 types of external sandhi. So they're called swara sandhi, visarga sandhi, and hal sandhi. The reason why he's written down hal sandhi here is because this is a shortcut terminology that Panini uses for the whole alphabet, the whole Sanskrit alphabet. Panini calls hal. And the reason Panini calls the whole alphabet hal is because in the very beginning of Panini's work, he introduces some 14 sutras called the Maheshwara Sutras, the Sutras of Lord Shiva, which are supposed to be the sound of Lord Shiva's drum, little dhaka drum. He has an X-shaped drum that he makes the sounds of the alphabet come out from the sound of that drum. So these 14 sutras, the Maheshwara Sutras, they go like this: A I una ri rik e on I ouch hayavarat lan yamana nanam jabagadadas kafachatata chatatawa kapai shashasha halur iti maheshwarani sutrani. These are the 14 sutras of Lord Shiva, Maheshwara. Okay, so now these have a special meaning because they allow us to make up sets. So in set theory, we have something. There's a letter in there that we say is the beginning letter, and a letter there which is the ending letter, and all the letters in between are then now in a set, and those sets are called patigrahas, I think. Anyway, so for instance, the first consonant. So we have a, I, un. These are right. Ri, rik. These are e, on, I, ouch. These are the sutras that deal with vowels. The sutras that deal with consonants are Hayawa, Ratlan, Yamana, Nanam, Jabagadadas, kafatata. Chatatau, kapai, shashisha, halu. It ends with an L. So it's hayawa rat. It begins with an H and ends with a L, right? An L. So if we take H and L, all the letters in between H and L in the Maheshwara Sutras are only consonants. So when Panini wants to say consonants, he doesn't say consonants. He says hal. He says ha to la in the Maheshwara Sutras. So this is the shortcut term, or the terminology, the technical Sanskrit jargon used by Panini to talk about not vowels, consonants, right? I mean, we could use the terms for swaras also. We could say right? So we could say ach. So sometimes this swara sandhi, which is vowel sandhi, is called ach sandhi. Panini calls it ach sandhi. So this is ach sandhi, and this is hal sandhi. But here he's called it swara sandhi. And I don't know the word for consonant in Sanskrit, but everybody just says hal. So you're going to hear Panini terminology used by some grammarians. So you should know what it means. Anyway, so I gave you the full explanation of what hal means, but just remember hal means all consonants, the set of all consonants in Sanskrit. Okay, sorry for that. That was a bit of an aside. Okay, so the chart on page 89, which is the next page, right, describes what happens if a word ends with a vowel and the next word begins with a vowel. For example, if one word ends in a short I, right, and the next word begins with an A, a short A, then they combine to form ya, Y-A, right? Okay, so don't freak out at that. That's one of the rules. That's not the first rule we're going to learn. That's not the easiest rule, but that's one of the rules. Okay, so let's have a look here. So we have a word gachati. Everybody knows what gachati means. Gachati is the third person singular of the verb of gum. The root is gum. The stem is gach. We add T to it, and we get gachati. Gachati. So gachati means he goes, right? Present tense. Third person singular. Yep, that's how we parse it. Remember how to understand grammatically what the word is before we translate it. Parsing. So third person singular of the verb gum or gach, to go, present tense. Is he goes, or she goes, or it goes, gachati, right? Plus, the next word we're going to see is ashvam. Ashvam. Now, ashvam, as we know, ashvaha is akaranta pumlinga. It is a short A ending masculine noun, right? It means horse, right? And when we see ashvam, ashvam is ashvaha, ashwal, ashwaha, ashwam. Ashwam is the accusative singular, right? Or dvitiya ekavachana, right, in Sanskrit, right, of the noun for a horse, right? Yeah. So it should be written. So this gachati plus ashwam should be written as gachatyashvam. Gachatyashvam. Did you notice what happened here? The I at the end of gachati, right, when it sees the A coming up in ashwam, it changes to a Y. Changes to a Y. So it's gatyashvam. Gatyashvam. Any of you who have learned any verses in Sanskrit, Vishnu Sahasranam, or any other verses in Sanskrit, Bhagavad Gita, you will see these sandhi changes, right? So when we over here we see the padapat. We see the two words separated, gachati and ashwam. Over here we see with the sandhi, the samita part. Right? We see with the sandhi, gachatyashvam. We can write it as one continuous thing. Especially in Devanagari. Devanagari uses a line at the top, and we sort of hang the forms of the letters are hung off the top line, basically. Like that. There's some breaks in the line sometimes for some letters. But anyway, there's basically a line. And this is very interesting because the whole Devanagari script seems to have evolved for writing in a straight line, left to right, so that you can easily make lines on manuscripts and things like that, because you just make a line like this and you hang all the letters off the bottom like that. Of course, there's some breaks, right? There's some reasons for breaks, but so it's not a perfect system like that. But anyway, it looks like one, to the average eye of a person, this looks like one word, but it's not one word. We know it's two words, but it's a chunk of Sanskrit, right, which contains more than one word. And in order to understand the two words, we have to break the sandhi. So this is the way we would see it in a manuscript or in a printed book, and we would naturally go, oh, here we see two words, and how do we break them? There's a Y there, so therefore we think this is going to be broken to become Gachati and Ashwan, right? So there's two things that we do when we're composing. We have the words and we have to put them together, so we have to make sandhis, right? So taking this samita part and making it into, padapad and making it into a samita part, right? Taking the word for word and making it into a continuous utterance, right? Continuous sentence or a verse. We have to add the sandhi. And when we get the verse, when we're translating from Sanskrit to English, we have to break the sandhi so that we get the individual words, because we have to know what the individual endings are in their original form. So that is called breaking the sandhi. So there's two things, making sandhis and breaking sandhis. So here we have the two words separate. We make a sandhi and it becomes like this. When we see this first, when we're translating it, that's from English to Sanskrit. When from Sanskrit to English, when we're translating back, we have to break the sandhi into two different words like that. So from Samitapad, it has to go to Padapad. From continuous utterance, it has to go to word for word understanding. Okay, sorry for that. I wanted to get all these concepts very, very clear in people's minds, right? So if I say to you, make the sandhis or add sandhi, right? If you have different words out there and they need to go together in a verse or a sentence, I'll say, now put the sandhis in. Now you've told me all the words individually. You want to translate something from English to Sanskrit. You know all the endings, right? Now put the words together with those endings and make the sandhis. Add the sandhis. Or I'll say to you, look, here we have some Sanskrit, a chunk of Sanskrit. Now break the sandhis. Break the sandhis. Separate the words out and change the endings so that they become the original endings. Break the sandhis. So make the sandhis, break the sandhis. There's two different things. Okay, so now we have here another example. Eva. Here we have Eva and we have Avishishyate. So now let's not parse this at all. Let's forget about parsing for right now, right? When we get to the exercises, we'll have to parse things. We'll have to find out the grammatical things. But let's just say we don't care what it is. We're just going to deal with the sandhi now. So we have a word here ending in a short A. We have a word here beginning with a short A. When a word ends in a short A and the next word begins with a short A, then those two short A's go together and it's A plus A. Short A plus short A equals long A. So it's just like mathematics, right? 1 plus 1 equals 2. So A and A become A, right? So here we have the long A. See that? Eva. So Eva avishishyate becomes Eva vishishyate. Now that makes sense, right? This first rule maybe didn't make a lot of sense right now, but it will. But this rule makes absolute sense, right? When we have a short vowel and the same short vowel comes after it, it just becomes a long vowel. The two of them together become a long vowel. That's a very simple rule, right? So now we'll deal with all these rules, later and everything like that. But first of all, it'll just be easy. There'll be a grid and you'll be able to figure out what it is. It's not hard. So here's another example. In this example, Brahmasmi, right? Brahma Asmi. So the Brahma ends in an A, short A. Asmi begins with a short A. So we put the two together and we get Brahmasmi, right? Brahma plus Asmi becomes Brahmasmi, right? Two short A's, one at the end of Brahma, one at the beginning of Asmi, come together and make long A, Asmi. Brahma plus Asmi becomes Brahmasmi. Yeah, again, it's the same example, same rule as the previous example. Next one. He's going to give you another simple one. Okay. Bhava. We have Bhava and we have Arjuna. These are actually examples that we know from the Vedas or from Bhagavad Gita. Right. So anyway, Bhava plus Arjuna. So the short A at the end of Bhava, a short A at the beginning of Arjuna. The two short A's, one at the end and one at the beginning of the next word, come together and make Bhavarjuna. And notice how it's written in Devanagari. Bhavarjuna. Right. Okay. So I hope that's clear. And once again, if anything I'm saying is not clear, just write something in the chat or just break in like that. Let's continue on. So on the following page is a chart describing Sandhi change. If the first word ends in a vowel, the vowels on top of the chart, so on the top of the chart, there's going to be vowels. So that's going to be those are going to be the ending vowels for a word. Then the second word begins with a vowel. That's going to be in the right-hand column. So we're going to have two columns like that. And in between where they intersect is going to be the answer. Right. So if a vowel has this symbol on top of it, and what's this symbol? This symbol is a macron, or it's a vertical line, horizontal line over the top of the letter. And on top of that is a little moon-shaped thing. That moon-shaped thing, so usually this horizontal line means a long vowel, right? When we, in English, in Roman transliteration, right, IAST transliteration, when we have a long vowel, we put a macron on top, a horizontal line. Now, this little moon-shaped line, right, actually is called a brev in diacritic terms. We don't use it much because when we indicate a short A, we don't put anything on top of it. We just say A without anything is a short A. A with a macron on top is a long A, right? So this brev indicates that there's also short A. So when we put the two on top of a letter, so if we have A with a macron and a brev above it, it means short and long A. It means both short and long A. So there are some rules here that apply to both the short version and the long version of the vowel. Right. Okay, so that's just what that symbol is going to mean, right? So if a vowel has this symbol above it, it refers to a short and a long vowel, both short or long vowel, right? So this, we could write short A or long A plus this other one becomes this, right? So for instance, these last examples that we had a short A ending and a short A beginning the next word, and they came together as a long A. But if we have a short A ending the word and a long A beginning the next word, they also come together and make a long A. If we have a long A ending the first word and a short A ending the second word, they also come together and make a long A. If you have two long A's, one long A ending the word and the next word beginning with a long A, they also come together and make a long A. So imagine that you see a long A. Every time you see a long A in Sanskrit, you have to think, does this word end with a short A or a long A? Does this word begin with a short A or a long A? So there's different possibilities. So Sandhi is not that straightforward, but there are alternates that could be there. And those alternates can change the meaning of the Sanskrit. If somebody breaks the Sandhi in one way or breaks the Sandhi in another way, there could be a different meaning, right? So let's not get too confused about that, because normally from the context we can understand everything. But there may be some cases where there may be alternate readings, alternate methods of breaking the Sandhi. So for instance, if I say, if I say here, here's a word, Bhavarjuna, or here, let's say Brahmasmi. We have a word Brahmasmi, right? Here's a word Brahmasmi, Brahmasmi, long A in the middle. So break this Sandhi. So somebody might say, well, it could be Brahma and Asmi, or it could be Brahma and Asmi, or it could be Brahma and Asmi, or it could be Brahma and Asmi. You see? It could be broken in 4 ways. All right. So let's not get too confused about that. All right. So this chart need not be memorized. So that's good. That's a good thing. We don't have to memorize this. So once again, do not get over confused about Sandhi. Sandhi is going to be introduced very slowly and very carefully, and we're going to assimilate it. We're going to learn it very easily. So this chart need not be memorized. It should be used in the exercises, and the rules will be memorized later once the patterns become more clear. And in fact, anybody who studied phonetics in university, if they've studied phonetical things, they can easily understand Sanskrit Sandhi because the rules of Sanskrit Sandhi are purely scientific, and they follow normal phonetic rules. So let's have a look at this Sandhi grid. Here we go. Okay. So here we have final vowels. So what are the final vowels? This represents short A and long A. So if you have any first word, if the first word in your 2 words that you want to put together or take apart, right? Do add or subtract Sandhi or make or break the Sandhis in, right? If the first word ends in a long A or a short A, if the first word ends in a long I or a short I, a long U or a short U, re. They haven't put long re. They've just put re, right? To make it easy, right? A, the letter A, which we know is a diphthong, which is also long, but it doesn't have they didn't put a macron on top of it because we don't do that in our form of transliteration. There's another form of transliteration called ISO 15919, which does put a long bar on top of the E and on top of the O, right? But we don't use that form of transliteration. So let's just say A, we have A here, it's a long vowel, right? I, it's also a long vowel, and ow. These are also long vowels. These 3 last ones, these 4 first ones are pure vowels. These are diphthongs. They're made up of two vowels that go together, that somehow are put together. So A, I, and ow. Okay. So now, so those are the final vowels. And down the right-hand side, we have he's broken them apart. So we have short A, long A, short I, long I, short U, long U, re, A, I, O, and ow. Right. So let's have a look at this. Okay. So so how would we do this? If we had a short or long A at the end of the first word, and that was followed by a short A, then we would get a long A, right? Which we just saw above, right? We have 2 short A's, one at the end of the first word, one at the beginning of the second word. They come together. Brahma Asmi becomes Brahmasmi, right? Okay, so that's an example of that. Now, if we have a short or long A at the end of the first word, and that's followed by a long A, the exact same thing. We get a long A, right? So that's the way you use this grid. So these are all, we're not going to go through all of these, but these are the things that are, so for instance, if we have, let's just take one at random here. If we have a first word that ends in ow, right? And the second word begins with long U, ooh, then that changes to long A, V, long U. So that may sound really complicated. There's reasons for that. Don't forget about what the reasons are, why it changes to be like that. It just does. Just accept it. And just remember, you don't have to memorize any of these rules. All you have to do is look at the chart. Right? Look at the chart. Right? So I would suggest for now that if you want to be able to correctly do the homework or the exercises, I would suggest you have this printed out or write it out, this chart, this type of chart, so that you know. So, okay, so there's the chart. That's a chart. Yeah. We have a question.
Does he do all the Sunday charts the same like this, and are all the three Sunday, because it's 3 lessons he says. So is it that the 3 Sunday charts in the three lessons, is that all of the Sundays that we really need to know? Or it's still not complete?
These 3 types of Sunday are the 3 types of Sunday that there are in Sanskrit. He's going to give you 3 charts for it. There's another book by Roderick Bucknell. There's a book, this one, Roderick Bucknell. This person has a more extensive chart. He has charts also.
That's
right?
the one you're talking about today.
And which I gave you. I think I've given some people scans of this. Right. So
but I find this one is easy to understand, I find.
Yeah, this one is easy. This one is easier to understand because that's in a grammar book and this is in a learner's book. Okay. So let's just go with this right now. And let's have a look and see some examples here. So let's have a look at some samples. Right. Okay. So here he's not even talking about the words. The examples he gives here, he's not even giving you the whole word. He's just giving the last letter of the first word, the first letter of the second word. So the last letter of the first word is the short I. The letter of the other word is long. The second word is long U. So it comes together and becomes U. Y-U. Right? I and U become U. So re and I become R and I. Okay, look at this very carefully. Right here we have a re, which is a vocalic R. It's a vowel and another vowel. Right here we have I and U. Right, 2 vowels become a consonant Y and a U. The I becomes a Y. Now, what is a Y? A Y we know is called a semivowel. Semivowel. A semivowel is actually ya, ra, la, and va are semivowels. They're actually consonants, but they come out of vowels. They're created from the vowels, right? So I becomes ya, iya, right? Sometimes we see the word Swami written with an I, and sometimes we see the word Swami written with a Y. That's because I and Y are very close together. Y is the consonant form of I. It's a semi-vowel. It's not a vowel. It's a consonant, but it's a semi-vowel, right? It's called a semi-vowel. We call it a semi-vowel. So here the I becomes a Y. This vowel becomes a consonant. E-U, E-U, E-U. Try saying E and U right after saying E. So E, U, E, U, U, E, U, E, U, E, U. If you say it quickly, the sound ya comes automatically, phonetically. Same thing here. We have rit. We have rit and E. Rit E, rit E, rit E, rit E, ri E, ri E, ri. It becomes R and I, right? This ri, which is a vowel, becomes the letter R, which is called refa in Sanskrit, repa. It's a consonant. What kind of consonant is it? It's a semivowel, right? So this vowel becomes a semivowel. Rit plus I, rit I, rit I, rit I, ri. It becomes ri, rit. It becomes rit, right? Ri. This is a consonant. Okay, so again we have short I and short U. Becomes again U. So the I becomes a Y semivowel, right? The vowel becomes a semivowel. Okay, so here we have again another example. Gachati plus et. Gachati plus et. We have ending in a short I, beginning with a short I. Naturally comes together, right? Becomes gachiti. Gachati plus et becomes gachiti. Long I. Okay, other additional examples are given on page 167 to 170, which you can check out yourself. Remember that the apostrophe in Sanskrit, we have this word called avagraha, which means apostrophe, represents a missing letter A. So whenever an A is dropped, and we'll explain that rule in a minute, right? Whenever, or soon anyway, well, when the A is dropped, right? Then we put this apostrophe or avagraha. Its meaning, avagraha means separation. When we have a certain vowels that come together, right? We drop the A in this at the beginning of the second word, right? Because it will be difficult to say it otherwise. So that's called separation, right? So it is written in Devanagari like this. This is the avagraha symbol in Devanagari. So, for instance, here's an example of where we would use the apostrophe or the avagraha. The beginning word is grame. Grame is what? Grame means a village, right? It's locative, singular, right? Which is saptami, ekavachanam, right? So it means in the village or at the village or for being on the village, but on the village doesn't make a lot of sense in English. So in or at the village, right? So he is in the village, he is at the village, right? So grame. Atra. Atra is an indeclinal, means here, right? So here in the village is what it means. Okay, so when we've got an A, right? It's pronounced A. It's the letter E in English, but it's pronounced A. Grame plus atra. So A plus A. So A plus short A, right? It becomes grame tra. The A is dropped. The A is dropped because if I say grame atra, I have to make a big break and I can't, it doesn't flow. It will not flow properly. So in order to make it flow, I just drop the A and I say grame atra, grametra, 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 grametra. Right. So as I said before, if you're speaking, if you're in conversational Sanskrit, probably somebody would say grame atra, like that. But they have to make a break in between it. If they realize they're going to say atra next, they're going to say grametra, right? And then that will be with the sandhi. So here we have once again padapat, word for word, samita pat, continuous speech. Grame atra becomes grametra. Okay. So once the sandhi rules have been applied, there's no further application of sandhi rules. So once you do them one time, right? There's no more. So somebody might think up here, okay, there's the first rule is the letter e followed by a, right? The a drops out and we put the avagraha, we put the apostrophe, right? So we get that grametra. Oh, now we have an a followed by an apostrophe or followed by tra. So why don't we just throw the apostrophe out? No, if you throw the apostrophe out, then people, when they want to break the sandhi, they won't realize it. So you can't continue to do sandhi you can't apply one sandhi rule and then once it's applied, right, you can't apply other sandhi rules to the thing which has come out of the first sandhi rule, what do I call it? It's the thing, the finished product, the product that comes out of the first sandhi. You can't then say again apply sandhi to it. That wouldn't be right. Okay, so just apply sandhi rules one time. Okay, so in this text, words are also separated in transliteration, Roman script, unless so in this whole book, right? In words are always separated in transliteration. So he doesn't want you to so when you're in doubt, look at the transliteration, don't look at the Devanagari, and you'll see how the words are separated out. Unless two vowels are forming one long vowel, right? For instance, short I and long I become short I and short I become long I, or short A and long A become long A. In Devanagari script, words involving vowel sandhi are joined, except when there's a space or hiatus between the vowels in the chart, right? So do we see any hiatus? We did see that, right? See here. So for instance, with the letter A as being at the ending and the other letters, you can see the product here, the product of the two letters here has a space in between them, right? So that means when the letter E or A is pronounced in Sanskrit, it's followed by a long A, beginning the next word, then the first word ends in a short A, the second word begins in a long A, and there's a space in between. Okay, so this is the product. The product has a space in it. The conclusion has a space in it, right? Okay, so he just wants to make sure that you understand that. So words involving vowel sandhi are joined except that there's a space or hiatus between the vowels in the chart. Until you learn more sandhi rules, all other words should be kept separated. For example, we have gachati plus iti becomes gachatiti, right? And you see that they're written together, right? You have gachati plus ashwam becomes gachatashwam, but he's specifically breaking the words here so that you can see that they're two words. Yeah? Because otherwise you might not know that they're two words. Okay, so then in vowel sandhi, often a vowel will be replaced by a semi-vowel which corresponds to it, right? This is what I mentioned before. The E becomes ya, the re becomes ra, like that. So the u becomes va, the like that. The re will become la. Okay, but that's very rare. So for example, E is replaced by Y. According to Panini, the change from the corresponding semi-vowel to the vowel. So if we're breaking sandhis and we see a Y and we want to turn it into two I's, right? From the semi-vowel, which is a consonant, we're turning it back into the vowel, right? So there's two things. When we make a sandhi, we turn the vowel into the semi-vowel. When we break the sandhi, we turn the semi-vowel back into the vowel. So there's a special name for turning the semi-vowel back into a vowel. That is in Sanskrit called samprasaranam. Samprasaranam. You don't have to remember this. This is the Sanskrit, right? It means spreading out or extension. Okay? So I don't exactly know what the way to talk about it in English jargon, we would just say, just break the sandhi. Just break the sandhi. Spread out. Break the sandhi. There's a semi-vowel. Break that sandhi. That's what I'll say. So because semi-vowel means spread out, because the semi-vowel spreads out to form the vowel, right? So for example, I and E become Y, right? Ri and Re become R. Ri and Re become L. Ri becomes L. U and U becomes V, right? These are vowels turning into semi-vowels. But when vowels turn into semi-vowels, that's one thing, right? They're coalescing, they're coming together. But when the semi-vowel, when this column turns back into these separate vowels and the consonant comes into the semi-vowel becomes a vowel, right? That's called samprasaranam, spreading out. Okay. Now, some vowels, pragrihya, are not subject to sandhi. There are some special vowels which are exceptions to all these rules, right? And these are the vowels which are going to be explained here, right? They're called pragrihya. You don't have to know the pragrihya, but they are known as pragrihya, right? So, A, the vowels I, U, and A, when they are dual endings. So whenever we have a word, the first word, and the first word is a dual ending. We parse the word and we see it's a dual ending. It's not singular, it's not plural, but it's dual. If it's a dual ending and it ends in a short I, U, a short U, or an A, or an E, an A, right? Then the next, we don't worry about the vowel that starts the next one. We just leave it alone. This is an exception. Right. The final, now B, the final vowel of an interjection usually a vocative, right? A vocative means, oh Krishna, oh Rama, please do this or do that or whatever it is, like that. So vocative is the case. It's called Sambodhana Pratama in Sanskrit, right? It's very much like the nominative case, but it's set at the end. It's like the eighth line of our case endings in declension of nouns, right? So, for example, let's give you an example so you can understand. Okay, so Rama agachanti. Agachanti means, is the verb, right? Agach means to come. Agachanti is third person plural, right? Of the verb to come. So it means they come, right? They are coming or they come, right? And Rama is what? Rama is in the vocative case, vocative singular. It means, oh Rama or Rama, just Rama, they come. So we're speaking to Rama and we're saying, Rama, they come, they've come, they come, like that. So there's no need for Sandhi here. Although Rama ends in an A and Agachi begins begins with a long A, somebody might say, well, why don't we put these together? Right? Short A and a long A, they go together, they make a longer A. Why don't we just say Rama Gachanti? Right? No, the exception is there because Rama is vocative. Because Rama is vocative, we don't do that. So when it's an interjection, when it's vocative, don't use Sandhi. These are two exceptions. These are called pragriha.
So
Okay.
with the first one, with the vowel, the vowels E, U, and A, for dual ending. So like, for instance, for narao, basically, because it ends in U.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Narao doesn't end in U.
It ends in ao, exactly.
It ends in ao. It ends in ao, but narao is dual.
Right. Yeah. Okay,
Narao is dual, but it is not ending in U. So this doesn't apply.
I guess these are the dual endings with E, U, and A will come. We haven't really done.
We haven't got these yet.
Okay,
So let's not worry about it too much. Okay. So just, this is all very complicated when we start talking about Sandhi. This is why he didn't introduce Sandhi in the beginning. There are some grammarians, you read a grammar book, and before you get to nouns and verbs, they're going to start talking about this stuff. And then people just put the book down and walk away and drop the class, right? Because only after you start to begin to understand about nouns and verbs and all these things, when you start to make some progress and translate some sentences and things like that, then you're ready for learning these basic Sandhi rules. Before that, if Panini himself, the way you learn Paninian grammar is before you learn how to make a noun, any noun or verb, before you add any ending to any noun or verb, you learn all the rules of Sandhi in Panini system. So this is a much easier way to do it, is to learn it like this. So, okay, so let's just continue on. The rules for this lesson are written out in lesson 13. So the homework that everybody who's watching this today is that you should look ahead to lesson 13 and look at the rules. You should have the Sandhi chart, the grid, and you should have lesson 13 on the other side and read both and look at both and see how the Sandhi chart has come from the rules and vice versa. See how they relate to each other. Okay, so we will memorize them at a time. So for instance, if somebody asked me a Sandhi, that I might say idway al. I might have a Panini Sutra in my head, right? That answers the question of how to make that Sandhi. So I don't have to even think. I don't have to think or look up a chart because I have a really short little sutra that tells me how to apply the rule, right? So that's the Paninian system, right? The other system which we're going to use is the cheating system, the easy system, let's say, not the cheating system. It's the easy system where you just have a chart and you just look it up, what it is. Okay, so now that's it for Sandhi, right? That's mostly what we're doing today. So now all the nouns that we've studied so far have been masculine and they end, right? We will now study neuter nouns ending in short A. So up until now, all the nouns that we've learned are short A ending masculine nouns. Now we're going to study short A ending neuter nouns. Neuter, right? That doesn't mean that the thing is neuter. It means that the noun itself, the word itself, is considered neuter for grammatical purposes. So here's the formation of neuter nouns, and they're going to use this word pala. Pala means a fruit. It's neuter, right? So normally when people will say it, they'll say palam. Just like when we say Rama, we say Ramaha. Ramaha is the nominative singular of Rama, right? It's an A ending masculine noun. Short A ending masculine noun. Pala is a short A ending neuter noun. So normally to distinguish it, we just say palam because that's the nominative singular, right? So let's look at the declension. Let's look at the declension of palam. So we have palam pale palani, palam pale palani, palena palabium palahi, palaya palabium palebyaha, palat palabium palebyaha, palasya palayoho palanam, pale palayoho paleshu, pala pale palani. Or we could say, hey pala, hey pale, hey palani. Means oh for vocative, right? So here we have, pratama, dvitiya, tritiya, chaturthi, panchami, shashti, saptami, astami, and vocative, don't call it astami, we usually call vocative as sambodhanam, or it can be properly called as sambodhana pratama. So it's like the nominative, right? So here we have like the nominative, right? Except the M is dropped. Pala, pale, palani, right? Here it's palam, pale, palani. Okay, so contrast this with Ramaha. Ramaha, Ramal, Ramaha. It's different. So we have now palam, pale, palani. These are different endings. So all in one fell swoop, he has given you, right, all of these to learn. So now, as well as learning Ramaha, Ramal, Ramaha, Ramam, Ramal, Raman, Ramena, Ramabiam, Ramahi, Ramaya, Ramabiam, Ramebyaha, Ramat, Ramabiam, Ramebyaha, Ramasya, Ramayoho, Ramanam, Hey Rama, Hey Rama, Hey Ramaha, right? Ramanam, Ramayoho, Rameshu, Hey Rama, Hey Rama, Hey Ramaha, right? So now we have to learn the neuter nouns. Yeah? So we have to learn the whole thing. Okay, so that's it. Now, so that was it. So now we have, and you can choose. Here he's chosen palam as your paradigm, as an example. If you want to use, you can use vanam, like Vrindavanam. Vanam means forest. Vanam vane vanani, vanam vane vanani, vanena varabhyam vanahi, etc. So you can choose anyone to learn, but you should learn to recite. At least you need to have it next to you when you do the exercises, or you need to memorize it. Eventually you'll memorize it, but now you don't have to memorize it right now. You just use the chart when you're doing the exercises. Now, continuing on, now we have some vocabulary, right? So the vocabulary on page 93, right? Here's some vocabulary. So Sanskrit and the English. So here we have amritam, and you notice that they have given it with an M. So what do we know? There's an N next to it, which shows that it's neuter. It's a neuter noun. If we see M, it's masculine. If we see F, it's feminine. If we see N, it's neuter. So here it's neuter because we've got two different types of nouns that we know. We know A ending masculine nouns, and we know A ending neuter nouns, right? Because they have some slightly different endings. So amritam is neuter. So normally what we'll do is we won't confuse things by saying Rama and Pala. We'll say Ramaha and Palam, giving the nominative singular of each noun when we want to indicate the gender of the noun, right? That'll tell us, right? So amritam means immortality or an immortal, a person who is immortal, right? Or a thing that's immortal. Khatam is an indeclinable end. These little these little notations in brackets tell us what type of word it is. Katam, the indeclinable. So not to be misunderstood, because amritam ends in an am. Katam also ends in an am, but this one is declined. This is a noun. This is not a noun. This is indeclinable. So we have to be very careful to understand differences between indeclinables and declinables. Noun is declinable. An adjective is declinable. These other words are indeclinable. Katam. So notice again, it begins in a K, right? So it's also a question mark. It's an interrogative. It's a question asking. It's another way of asking questions. How? How? If I ask how, I'm asking a question. How? Used like kutra. Kutra means where. So what, where, when, why, how. These are all, in English, interrogatives. These are all question asking words. So here we have an indeclinable in Sanskrit beginning with the letter K. Yeah, probably it's an interrogative. It's indeclinable and it's an interrogative. It's a question asking word. So then we have jnanam. What is jnanam? And it's a neuter noun. It's an A ending neuter noun. Short A ending neuter noun. Jnanam. It means knowledge. Right. So then we have pat. Pat. You see this, the root sign here. This is a square root sign in mathematics. We use that root sign to show that that is the root of the verb. It's a verb, and that's the verbal root. There's a verbal root. Afterwards, we turn it by some rules. We can turn it into a stem, and the stem gets endings added on it to make first person, second person, third person, singular, dual, and plural, and whatever tense or whatever mood that we're expressing the verb in. Okay, so here we always show the verbal root or the stem, right? And then we show, as an example, we show the third person singular, right, present tense of the verb. Patati, patati. He reads. Remember, I said samita pat, right, or padapat, reading. It means lesson. It means read. As a noun, it means a lesson. As a verb, it means to read. So to read, samita pat, to read continuously. Padapat, to read word by word, right? So patati is the third person singular present tense of the verb pat, to read, right? Now we have pustakam. Pustakam again is a noun. It's an A ending, short A ending, neuter noun. It means book, pustakam. Palam, which we just learned the whole palam there. Palam means fruit. It's also neuter, A ending, short A ending noun. Right, vanam, forest, right? Vanam is a neuter A ending noun. Shastram, not to be confused with shastram. Shastram is a weapon. Shastram is a scripture. Short or long A makes the difference, right? We have to be very careful with the shorts and the long A's, or the shorts and long any vowels, right? They have different meanings. Okay, so shastram means scripture. It's a neuter noun, right? A ending, short A ending. Short A ending, neuter noun, satyam. Satyam means truth. Suktam. Suktam means a hymn, like Purusha Suktam, Sri Suktam. Suktam means a hymn. These are all neuter A ending nouns. Okay, so notice that the neuter nouns are also given in their nominative singular form, right? So we could have said Amrita. We could have said Sukta, but we didn't. We said Suktam and Amritam, right? So Amrita, the stem form, is listed as Amrita, the stem form is listed as Amritam, the nominative form, right? The Pratama Ekavachana, nominative singular form, to show us immediately that it's neuter, right? Because if it was an A ending masculine noun, it would be Suktaha. It's not Suktaha, it's Suktam, right? So just like we know Ramaha is masculine, we know Suktam is neuter. Palam, Suktam, Vanam, they're all neuter, right? Like that. Right. So notice that the neuter nouns decline like the masculine nouns, except, so they're all the same, except all of the case endings are the same in the declension of neuter nouns as they are in masculine nouns, A ending nouns, right? Except in the nominative the accusative, which is the pratama, the dvitiya, and the vocative, which is the sambodhana pratama, which comes at the end. So the first two lines are different, and the last line in the declension is different. Yeah? Okay. So now we come to the exercises.